Good morning, everyone. It's a bright, chilly morning here in Florida today, and we're about to hit day 2 of our cargo rack install. So we got a lot to do today. We're going to do wiring, a couple other little steps you wouldn't think of, but ironically enough, the cargo rack went through its first heavy rainstorm last night without being even installed yet. So I still got it sitting here, ready to go. But you can see it's soaked. That's okay. It's going to be getting a lot worse when it's right on top of the truck. So at some point today, the lights for the back are going to arrive. So what do we got to do? Well, we've got to run the wires. That's going to be interesting, since I've already got wires going through the front, through the firewall, because of these lights here. It'll be interesting to see if I can fit one more harness through the hole that I drilled, but I don't think so. I think I'm going to have to widen that hole to get the wires through. And then it's a question of exactly how I want to wire this thing up. And I'll tell you, well, let me show you what I got. Aside from some very heavy wire, I bought these. So these are outdoor, automotive, all-weather switches. I like they get the little safety clip on them. So what I'm thinking of is when I run the wires up, hi Mux, I'm going to install a couple of switches, and that way, if I put the dash switch on to turn these on, I'm not going to use the back switch. Well, I'm not going to use any of these lights very often. But the rear lights, I don't want to come on just because I turned on the front. So I'm only going to run one wire up, or one wiring harness up. And so I may put a switch for both. I may put a switch that'll work to shut off the fronts and or shut off the rears on a second switch back there. But for as far as wiring harness goes, these are all going to be on the same tube. So I gotta run a wire from here, probably to here, then another wire to here, coming in the harness. The harness will then run across the back to the rears, which hopefully Amazon doesn't let me down and delivers them at some reasonable point today. So I'll have a wire from this light to this light to the harness. Oh, to the switch, to the harness. All right, so the switches are easy. They're just one line in, one line out. So your power feed hits here, goes through the switch, comes out here. So if the switch is in the off position, like it is now, the light won't work. If I mount it and then I flick it, and the switch under the dash has sent power, then the rears will come on. So that's the plan. I'm going to give it a little bit to dry out, but I also have to prep the truck aside from the harness. Another step which you may not think of when you're doing this, but I think it's important, is I will be applying a heavy coat of wax to the roof of this truck. I don't really plan on taking this rack off. I mean, maybe, but I don't plan on it. Now, I did wax this truck probably 3 months ago, the whole truck, but I am going to put a heavy coat of wax on the roof again, because it's going to be very difficult to wax it once this roof rack is on. And as you know, people that own these trucks know that roofs seldom get waxed, and usually that's where the paint starts to go right away. So I don't want that happening. All right, so that's it. We got a lot to do today. I'm not sure we'll get it all done, but we may. If not, I've got tomorrow. I got a few hours tomorrow. I'll finish it up. All right, so hey, let's get busy. All right, so let's think about wiring harnesses. I've got two different types here, a single and a double, and I think I could use either. I guess the only question really to me is how thick the wires are, because that main light bar is going to draw a lot of juice. So this is the double, and the wires seem to be the same thickness, so I'm going to use the double. That was easy to decide. So with the double, it'll run up, and when it gets to, there we go, you can figure it out from here, right on the actual cargo rack. So the harness will come up the windshield here. Hopefully this is long enough to do that. Looks like it. And we'll have two. We'll come up possibly right here. And this will go to the back. This will go, these two leads will go light the front, these will light the back. Yeah. Okay, here's the wiring harness. It's going to be tight. I've got a little wiggle room in here, but essentially I'm going to run it up through here, behind this hinge, through the fender, and then it tucks right in here. This just peels up. Sorry, I'm not doing a very good job showing this, but this just peels up, and this will run right up in there. Sorry, doing it with one hand holding the camera is a little tricky, but anyway, you get the gist of it. So I'm not going to bother running power just yet. I'm going to try to run my new switch, and that means to start I've got to take a picture of exactly how these wires are lined up, because they have to be put back exact. Pulled the grommet out. I don't know if I have enough room there to tuck yet another harness through there, so I'll probably have to just widen that hole just a little bit. But hey, I'll be back. Okay, I'm going to use the Dremel little grinder blade to widen this, hold this a little bit. I'm going to use a flathead screwdriver to kind of protect my wiring. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'll try not to get in the way, but I don't want to cut my wiring, so I've got to be careful here. It is a difficult reach. Yeah, okay, I got it through easily. Oh, well, that was done. Luckily it disconnects from here. Okay. Move it through the dash. Now we get the world famous how to take your dashboard apart procedure that I didn't quite show you on the last video. I showed you it going back together, but you'll see. Boy, I love working on these trucks because this stuff is just great. All you gotta do, get this panel off the dash, pull the shifter down, and pull. Alright, once it's out, it's disconnected. Just gotta get it out of the way. put it in the park, shut it off. I just got to take a couple bolts out. This panel will come out, and I'll be able to run my switch. I'll probably put it right here for these. All right, let me there's a couple bolts that I recall. One there, and then this just pops out. Let me take care of that. I figure out ideal spot for this. Tricky. I ran them in the ideal spot. I may have to put it next to it. I may actually have to run it right there, right beside the other two. That seems like the most likely place. Yeah, no, that seems like it. That's like my only spot. All right, let me take care of that. All right, so again, as I said in my last video, a 3/4 inch hole saw is about correct for these switches, but not perfect. So I'm going to use that, put yet a third hole in my lower dash panel. This will be the last one. Okay, we're through. That's it for this. I just got to get the Dremel and kind of hollow out the hole a little bit. So it's best as you do this to kind of just check it every couple seconds to see if you did it enough or not enough. Because it's very close. Push it in. Is it going? Got it. Okay. We've now got a third switch in our switch panel. So next I got to fix the wires. That plug that I broke off. Shouldn't be a big issue. And then plug it in. Then we'll put the dash back together and the internal wiring is done. So I know this internal wiring is kind of the step that really intimidates a lot of people, but it's pretty easy. I mean, if I were running my own wires, it's a little trickier, but with a harness, it's pretty quick. It's pretty quick. So let me get back to it. Let me fix that clip and then put the dash back together. That holds it tight. Okay. Now, let's look at my photo. I'm gonna pause the camera for a second. I'm gonna look at my photo because, as I said, there's an orientation that I used based on the symbol on the switch, the 1, 2, 3, and you gotta get that right. It's very important to get that right. So I'm gonna pause the camera for a second. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm going to explain this again because I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to get this right. I looked at the photo and the orientation is the exact same as this one. Now, you cannot be assured that they're always going to be the same, but this one goes red, white, black. So what I do is I start with the O and red, white, black, okay? So on this switch, the O is at the bottom, so that would be red, white, black. Okay, And we're wired in. So the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some electrical tape around this guy because he doesn't have the sleeve. All right, let me grab some tape. Okay, I got some tape. Just go in and wrap it around. And now we're insulated. All right, let me just take care of that little extra tape. Just pull it through. There we go. Okay, so now, look at that. We're all ready to put the dash back. So, what we're gonna do, I'm gonna wrap this section of it up. Let me raise this up a little bit so you can see. You've got two tabs. One tab here, one tab here. Put your dash back up there. Line up those two tabs. Push it in. Now we've got two screws, which I showed you those come out. Let's put the screws back in. Sorry if I'm blocking the camera. It's not always a perfect view with my videos, that's for sure. Other screw goes here. All right, we're in. Let's get some stuff out of the way and I'll put the dash back. That's great. I start getting more excited when this step of the process is done. Because, like you, I don't like this taking the dashboard apart either. Okay. Dashboard goes back in. This turns the hazard on. Line up the pins again. Lines up there. Shut the hazards off. Done. Dashboard's back together. So we're already done with the inside of the truck. Okay? All we gotta do now is put our tools away. Okay. Next up, I'm gonna say hi to Muggsy. And then we are going to mount the switch for the back lights. Don't have the back lights yet, but hopefully, I have faith they're going to be here in time to get this all done today. So, what I've decided is I have to drill a hole, and it looks to me as if the best point, so understanding of course that this is going to be high up on the truck, so you'll just reach up and flick a switch, one of these two. So here's the switch. I'm going to actually just open up this slot that's already here rather than try to risk drilling a hole somewhere else. So I took a guess. That looks to be about the right drill size. I drilled a hole like this. I just went, well, let's see what drill size it is. It's this. Just put it in the cardboard. Looks pretty close. And it looks like there's enough room. If I want the toggle to go with the wind, I want it that way. So off will unfortunately be towards the lights, but there's nothing I can do about that because this switch is actually slotted. It goes on a certain way. On the other hand, the good news is that the switch plate actually gives me a great opportunity and a great way to hold the switch onto the panel. Alright, well, here goes nothing. Let's put a hole in it. Alright, so, here's a question. You got enough room there? Put the cover on. And the nut, yep, just enough. Perfect. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is, since I just went right through the coating, and the metal and all that, I'm going to kind of file this down a little bit, sand it, and then I'm going to repaint it, because I do not want any corrosion happening. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to prime it and paint it. Okay, give that a few minutes to dry, and then I'll hit it with some black hammer and melt the switch. I want to get a couple of coats on here, because if this rusts, this will probably be where I put a hole in it. Okay, I think I've got everything I need here to make my wiring harness for the front, and then to tap over to there. So we've got shrink tubing, I've got connectors, I've got my soldering iron. I'm not sure if I'm going to solder or just go crimping. What I do want to be is certain that whatever I do is protected from the elements, which is why I'm going to built-in suspenders a lot of this. Okay, I'm building my large connection here, and this I have decided I would do well to solder it. So I got my soldering iron, I get some flux. Very gooey flux. This is old stuff. This is a belt and suspenders approach to making sure this stuff is insulated. Okay. I'm all tied in. Let's hit it. One last step, because I want to seal both ends. I'm going to do that with this cool product called liquid electrical tape. It works. All right, so I haven't got the back lights yet, so I can't finish that harness. But as far as we are right now, we are pretty much done. All right, so I'll be back when I've got more I can do. Okay, just got the last two lights from Amazon. Let's see how they go together. They're a different brand. I kind of bought the Prime overnight ones because I wanted to get this done this weekend. Let's see how they go together. Some of these go together pretty screwy. So they're kind of funny how these go together. These brackets go on, and these screws kind of get dropped in there, and then these go through. They're showing washers. I can't imagine what the washers are actually for, but I guess the washers go on the other side of the nut, which is what you need the needle nose pliers for. But you've got to. It's very difficult to describe this without showing you a close up. So the whole thing, everything that you've got to do, takes place in here. So you've got to lift this guy, slide the washer on, and then screw it into that. It's yeah, there you go. There you can see it. It's really unique, I guess. Center it. Looks good. Okay. Now, we've got two wires. We're going to run all the way to the switch. I know I'm going fast because we're burning daylight, as they say. Okay. Clear some tools out of the way so I can paint on my tools. I'm going to grab a new can of Hammered because I don't really have much left in this last second can. And I'm going to hit these guys. I'll be right back. So, mask off the lenses. All right, let me let that paint set. Take the tape off. And if I can get somebody to help me lift this thing on top of the truck, we can go. And slide it over. All right, let's see alignment.
Oh, we're good.
Yeah, that's actually pretty close to center. Is it? Are these guys right?
It's more to say like slightly to you, and that's it.
Slightly this way.
No, your way. That's it. Oh, that's good right there.
I actually think no. I think it needs to go back a little bit. I don't know. Let's see the back. Look at the front. Let me look at the back.
So, if you look at the, I'm looking at the center bar there, the center square.
Oh yeah.
Over the center of the lot.
Right, the center of the
But it does look like it needs to go this way, so you just need to make a decision.
All right, let's take a look.
That's very nice.
So it's in. I haven't bolted it down, and I haven't finished the wiring yet. I'll do that tomorrow. But it looks good, and it looks, to me, I mean, what's your opinion? My opinion is that this is a good fit for this cladded Avalanche.
I like it. I like it. It's really subtle and not so over the top, but it's a nice fit.
And it fits under the carport
Yeah.
by about 2 inches.
Well, if you leave your luggage on when you pull in, you might.
Yeah,
not be
that'll
so
be a
happy.
problem. But that's the thing. I don't really expect it to be carrying much. It was really a convenient way to put off-road lights up top and give it a more rugged look. And I think it's done that.
Now, when the zombies come, at least we can see them, though.
All right, well, thank you.
All right,
Thanks for your help.
and I'll see you.
So it looks like a good path for wiring is right through here. You can see daylight there. So I'm using this thing, this little grabber tool. I'm gonna go through there so I can see it. And then I'm going to use it to pull the wiring harness through. And the reason why I'm doing that is that'll keep it out of the way of this. I don't want this thing coming down on it or crimping it or anything like that. Another trick, of course, is reaching around here, clamping it and grabbing the harness. But I think that's a pretty good, pretty safe way to run this through. All right, let me take care of that and I'll be right back. Okay, it's up on the roof. I don't think I'll have all the wiring tied down today, but let's tuck the wiring in and plug it in, because fucking mosquitoes. I am very excited to see what it looks like powered up. I don't need to see the back lights right now. What I'm really eager to see is the fronts. Tomorrow I've got to finish the wiring and bolt it down. All right, so well, I got it mounted. I got it all wired up and everything, and I'm just not getting anything out of it. So I hooked up a battery charger to my wiring, and they lit up fine. So I went back, I checked the switch. The switch seems to be wired fine. I took the dash apart again. Yeah, locked it. So I got the dash apart again. I checked the wiring for the switch, and that's correct. When I tested the voltage, well, the fuse isn't blown. I tested the voltage coming out of the relay, and the most I got was 8 volts. So that's about where I'm at. I think the harness is bad. So I do have the other harness. It's not a dual harness, and it's also not as heavy duty wire, but I think I'm going to call it a night. It's about 9 o'clock, and I've been screwing with it for a while. But hey, the good news is I've got it up there. I haven't tied it down yet. I'll do that after I figure out the rest of the wiring. So by that I mean I haven't done any of the braces yet, so it still moves up there, but it is up there anyway. So that's it for tonight. Hey everyone, so it's morning, and okay, so here's what I found out. I was able to run a 12-volt battery charger up there. Lights work fine. It's not anything like that. I took my other harness, the one with the 16 gauge wire that I didn't want to use, and I ran it up to it. The lights also worked. Using the switch that's in the dashboard, because I could connect to it through the connector there. So the original harness, yeah, I guess all I can guess is it's the regulator. When I hook it up, I do hear the regulator ping, which this one did not do, and which my other lights also do not do. Some tries I get the lights to kind of come on, and but most tries it's completely out. So I don't want to use this gauge wire because that main light is about 400 watts, which would kind of max this thing out. So I've ordered another harness, and it's due in at some point today. Since I don't have to change the switch or anything, I've put the dashboard back together, and once the harness comes in, it should be fairly easy to replace it. I've just got to rerun the wires. But so that's where we're at. When the new harness comes in, I'll be able to hook everything up. So in the meantime, I'm going to tie the rack down using the clamps that came with it. And I'm going to do a step that yesterday I kind of forgot to do, which was I said I was going to wax the roof of the truck. So now I have to do it with the rack on it, although the rack is, of course, not tied down, so I can maneuver the rack around where I'm waxing. So let me get to that. That'll be the next steps, and hopefully the wiring harness arrives early and I can plug it all in and be done. But it's been an interesting journey so far. All right, the roof is washed, and I'm going to use Tech Wax on it, which I use all the time. I love this stuff. This stuff came out around the time this truck would have been new, so it's a pretty good fit either way. But it's very easy to use. You just shake it up, put it on the pad, and put it on. So I'm going to be working around this thing across the roof, and let me take care of that step, and then I'll bolt it down. So these go on top like that, and they go into those brackets there, like this actually. Okay, and then you just sandwich them in. So unfortunately, I can't really do much. Well, maybe I can put the phone on a tripod on that and show the process. I'm not going to tie them down tightly first because I want to make sure this is perfectly aligned. It looks pretty close. I'll get a tape measure and check it. Anyway, let me get something set up so we can watch. Okay. Not the most fun thing I've ever done from here. A little tricky doing it this high up, but it's probably easier to put a little oil in the bolt holes instead. Although, I don't like that idea either. Alright, so let me start by doing this. I'm going to put this. I don't like that either. Put it on rag. Slide that under to about where it's going to go. Make sure these holes are lined up. Okay. Put a little oil on the edge of the screw. Go in here, and they're in, and hopefully grab it. Looks like we did. Do the same for the other side. I'm being careful not to get any of the oil on the paint either. Down through the hole. Okay. One down. Let's move on to the next. Okay, now I'm going to use a tape measure, just make sure I'm perfectly aligned and then tighten it down. Okay, I want to make sure nothing moves. My last step in wiring this, after I've got it all tied down, is I wanted to kind of merge the wiring with this. And this is a step that to me is something I wanted, but it's purely optional for you. So this vehicle sits sometimes for weeks at a time, and I don't like to have things connected directly to the battery, which is how these lights wire up. I mean, they've got fuses and all, but they are directly on the positive terminal of the battery. So here is my last addition to the wiring. So you've got my custom harness which controls all the lights. I understand the wiring looks messy. I have to tie it all down still. But here's a battery control switch. So when I want to turn or make the lights hot so they have a power feed, all I got to do is turn this. So it's basically an engine or battery cutoff switch, but I'm only using it on the light. So you just turn this, and your lights are powered. Unscrew it a little bit, your lights are off, and that should hopefully protect the battery. Okay, it's done. It's all wired in, it's tied down, it's bolted down. Let's take a look. So it really does kind of fit the odd cladded look of the Avalanche. It's very different. Here's my switch for the reverse or the back lights. I got some moss already falling on it. Pretty good. I'll light them up tonight. Get a little video of that. But overall, it's impressive. Straight on. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Great way to mount those overhead lights. All right. I'll close out tonight. I'll be back. All right. It's dark, and I've got the truck where I hopefully won't piss anybody off. Let's give it a shot and see what these things do. Well, that top one is insanely bright. Insanely bright. I mean, your camera can't even focus on it. It's just too bright. Let me move over to the side. Oh my God, that's bright. Wow. All right, so let's look at the rear setup, which I have not tested actually. So here you go. Custom rear bed lights. How cool is that? All with the flick of a switch. And if I really want to piss the neighbors off, I can put them all on. That's pretty funny. Wow. Okay, that's it. I am very happy with how this came out. Don't let me fool you though, it was a lot of work, it was time consuming, but overall, you know, everything kind of went exactly as planned other than when the wiring harness had a bad relay and I had to troubleshoot that. But that's a pretty minor grievance. Everything else went just smooth. So I will post links to everything. If you want to steal this look, I'll post links to everything. Overall, I think you'll get around this whole project with about 400, maybe 450 in materials, and you can build your own. So if you love this and you want to steal this look, you know, book yourself a weekend. Don't be intimidated. Just go out, get busy. Take care. That was quite a job, Nacho. We're done.